Liberty McCorder joining us from the stream, joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. I don't know how you're going to top that one. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me on today.
No, always a pleasure. Love hearing you on our friend Lars Larson's show as well. This is a very significant piece that you wrote concerning someone who is being held captive by Boko Haram for being a Christian. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. Back in February, people may remember that Boko Haram, which is the terrorist organization in Nigeria, captured a group of 110 schoolgirls from a village called Dapchi. And then in March, most of the girls were released back to their families, except for one girl. Her name is Leah Sharibu. She's 15 years old. And Boko Haram kept her captive because she is a Christian. She was the only Christian in the group, and they tried to force her to convert to the Islamic faith, and she refused. And today actually marks her 150th day in captivity with Boko Haram.
And yet, besides you, Liberty, at thestream.org, we don't hear much about this.
It is not, a very popular story right now, and it's not a super big issue in Nigeria either, even though I think it should be. I've been speaking with Nathan Johnson. He's the regional manager for Africa at International Christian Concern, which is a great organization. And he says that in Nigeria, it's pretty much fallen to the back burner. They got most of the girls released, and then Leah Sharibu is just, the girl left behind. And obviously there are a lot of things going on in that region right now. But this is a 15-year-old girl, again, being held captive for her faith, likely being tortured and undergoing all sorts of abuse that we can't imagine over here. And it's really time for the government to step up and do something, and that's why people need to put pressure on, and we need to raise awareness of Leah's case.
Let's get back to Boko Haram. Many people may not be familiar about this brutal group that terrorizes so many people.
Their name, Boko Haram, loosely translated, actually means Western education is forbidden. So they terrorize peaceful villages. They are, but one of the things they're known for is kidnapping groups of girls from school, and that's what they did. And with this group in Dapchi specifically, they kidnapped 110 girls. 5 died in captivity. So they brought all the girls back except for Leah to their village and said, don't put them back in school. They're obviously very anti-Christian as well because that's why they're keeping Leah captive. And so they're a horrible organization that their violence is increasing in Nigeria, all across the country, and they take people captive and they hold them, and so obviously they're persecuting Christians as well as other peaceful people in Nigeria.
Liberty, what would you like people to do?
Well, today, again, is the 150th day of Leah's captivity. And so Christian Solidarity Worldwide, which is a UK-based organization, they're encouraging Christians around the world and everybody who would like to join in praying for Leah today. Pray for her release, pray for her strength in captivity and for her well-being. But additionally, we can put a lot of pressure on the Nigerian government the more people are aware of this case. So tweet at government officials, Nigerian officials. They're on Twitter, they're on social media. You can find them. You can call the Nigerian embassy and ask them what they are doing to secure Leah's release, because really nothing will likely happen, according to sources in Nigeria, until there is international pressure on the government. Back in 2014, there was the whole Bring Back Our Girls campaign. That was another group of schoolgirls that Boko Haram captured. And one thing that Johnson told me, again, he works for International Christian Concern, those girls did not get released, and the government did not work for their release until that campaign went viral on social media. So we can't underestimate the power that we have on social media to raise awareness and put pressure on the government, and that's really important.
Well, and here we talk about courage. Courage reminiscent of the early Christian church. A young lady who's 15 years old, her Christian faith is so strong that she did not denounce her religion, most likely at the threat of death or anything else with these thugs, Boko Haram. And 150 days she's been away from her family. Now, you talk about salvation by faith. You talk about faith in Christ. She truly is an example.
She is. I think it's hard for us to imagine that kind of situation over here, because that's just not our reality. But even her friends and her classmates, when they came back, they said they tried to convince her, hey, you don't have to, give up your faith. Just say the words just so you can come with us and be released. And she wouldn't do it. And that's the kind of fortitude she has. So she needs prayer to continue to stay strong. And we need, to pray for her release and just follow her example. If it kind of puts a lot of our problems in perspective, too, when we think about that 15-year-old girl, Leah, over there, and everything she's going through for her faith. And I think it is a call to us to stand up and be more courageous and more bold when it comes to defending our faith and our values as well.
And you can read that information on thestream.org. Liberty, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Think about this. We all have our challenges, but a young girl in Nigeria, not known for a lot of human rights, converts to Christianity. 15 years old, and these thugs have taken her away, and she will not renounce Jesus. Inspiring. Please keep her in your prayers. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It is the summertime, and quoting our friends at Channel 7, I love this piece. A trying time for motorists, drivers frustrated over windshield chips. Well, not if you're working one of those windshield replacement shops. It's good business. I don't know what they would call that, brown gold or something of that matter. I mean, how frustrating is it when you drive and you get the chips, the chip sealing doesn't happen, you've got the loose things, and all of a sudden it's $50, $100, $300 to get your windshield repaired. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit about that, plus much more of the defense of the president. Where do you stand? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. The other day we were talking to Tanya J. Powers about these police lip sync videos, and I'm just amazed watching these police officers from across the country. It is simply amazing. Napa, Meridian, ISP, Twin Falls, all taking up the lip sync challenge. And we were talking yesterday, we had a young man who was a little upset with me saying, Kevin, you need to get in there and hold these police officers accountable. And there might have been a time earlier in a younger, much less plump, much more gifted with the hair follicles, Kevin Miller, who would have jumped on this and been the contrarian that would have taken on this feel-good story. But as Simon Cowell has changed, if you watch him on America's Got Talent, very different from Simon Cowell of American Idol. It's a different world that we live in today. You have to adjust. You have to move the cheese, right? So watching these videos, and perhaps later we'll do a semi-award-winning blog on it, these videos are something that, that's something that's been needed. Now, again, at 580-5436, you can say, look at all the government money being wasted. Yes, you're right. Government money's wasted all the time, right? Except when it's serving our purposes, like expanding the roads or law enforcement or the military or our friends that are air traffic controllers, right? So I'm watching these videos, and remember, during the 8 years of Obama, which we seem to forget all of a sudden in the age of Trump, police officers were bad. Police officers were this. We're rioting, Ferguson, making up allegations, just like we're doing against President Trump or the useful idiots in the media. UIM. No, it's not a university. Useful idiots media are doing against the president, comparing the news conference to Pearl Harbor. Really? That's out of sync. What I think the message is of these police officers doing these videos, and I have to say that it is community policing on steroids. What did we hear during Obama? What did we hear when people were taking shots at police officers and their families? And I don't say this disrespectfully. I don't say it flippantly. We talk about the military. 1% of people in the military, 1% of the population could be in the military. I don't know about that in law enforcement. I would say that's about the same. The temperament to take on people that antagonize you, that want to go viral. Yeah, I stuck it to the police. Whoops, someone's assaulting me. I better call the police. So these videos, and I have to say, when I'm feeling kind of gloomy about politics, I'll sit there and watch them. I'm watching one from Dakota County, and they're going back and forth, jostling these law enforcement officers. And yeah, they got a lot of equipment, but it humanizes law enforcement, which in our own way, backing the badge, that's what we try to do here. Because they have families, they have a commitment. They are there. On one end of the spectrum, you have Peter Strzok, who we won't even talk about, the abuse of power under Obama, Lynch, and Holder. And then you have people that answer the call when you get hurt. It's kind of like education. Everybody has an issue with education except when it comes to their school and their teacher, right? Or their kid's teacher. But I think these viral videos are great. And if you'd like to discuss them, wonderful. I know it's a little different at 580-5436. We've got a lot of issues to talk about this week. Two things going on. We hope you can join us Friday morning to stop by Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian. Stop by, express your views on the radio, fire some weapons. We'll have a range officer there. We'll also have free ammunition from our friends at American Reserve Munitions. Appreciate those guys coming out from Horseshoe Bend. Locally made ammunition. They do a great job. They listen to the program. Please support them. That's Friday. Going on right now, Girls with Guns. That competition is wide open. Wide open right now. Usually we're so inundated with requests. Like what we had, over 6 million votes the last time. And 60 to 80 contestants right now? The field is wide open. Hint, hint. Get your girl, take her photo with her favorite gun, and submit. Prizes, you're talking about a huge gun safe from Rhino, firearm, sidearm, details at KIDOtalkradio.com, or a year's membership at Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, right there off Overland. Look, I was going to sit here and I almost hit the wrong button, and we were going to be hearing the Dakota Police Department lip sync. Before that, let's get to traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to your phone calls. Paul in Nampa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
Living the dream. And you?
Me too. It's a little warm.
Yeah.
Hey, explain to me how just a few short years ago, Hillary Clinton can go over there with a reset button and meet, I think it was the prime minister or somebody, and we're in this position where if you even say the word Russia, you must be colluding with them and somehow have, some dark secrets. And I don't get the two-faced, I'm scared. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's Trump derangement syndrome, Paul. The media, let's go back to Mitt Romney. Poor Mitt Romney. Russia is a threat. You need to go back to the 80s to get your foreign policy. Okay.
Yeah, where'd they take it now? They've drug it right back there, haven't they?
Right.
Crazy.
But, you go back to the president. What was he supposed to do? Give Putin a judo chop in front of everybody? Would that have made him happy?
Well, I think his point is very accurate that what are we thinking? We're going to go to war? I mean, that's what, if you listen to the media, that's pretty much what they're saying, that we should be going to war with them. And that's ridiculous. Regardless of our standing with them, they're a pretty big country, and it would be ugly. It'd be horrible.
Well, and for years, that has been our number one foreign policy mission, not to go to war with Russia.
Yeah, exactly. On another topic, you kind of switch over to the police.
Yeah.
I have some family members that are in law enforcement. I'm amazed that there are anybody willing to be policemen anymore. I wouldn't. I'd just be like, sorry, it's not worth it. And at some point, that's going to happen. They keep pushing them the way they're doing. They're all just going to say, sorry, you go take care of yourselves. And they're not going to be able to get anybody to even do it. And then what's going to happen? It's going to be crazy.
So you wouldn't, if given the opportunity to be a police officer, you wouldn't do it?
No. Nope. Wouldn't do it.
That might be one of probably the biggest regret of my life is that I never pursued that.
I hold those guys in high regard that are willing to do it.
I would.
I have several friends that are and family members that are law enforcement, and it takes a special person to be willing to. The reason I wouldn't be interested is mostly because of the way that they're treated if something goes south.
Right.
I mean, you and I can't put our lives on the line legally at work. We can't do it. OSHA won't allow it. There's just all those reasons why we can't do it. They have to. Every time they pull somebody over, they're taking a risk. And, we probably don't pay them enough. And then we turn around and we beat them up every time that something goes weird. They're in the heat of it. There's a video out there where they took somebody and had him reenact a bunch of scenes that were live or real life scenarios. And he messed them all up. And he was just like, wow, okay, I'm looking at this totally different now. And we just thrash them every time something goes wrong. And I understand there's probably bad cops, just like there's bad anybody. But the predominantly they're not. They're trying to do the right thing. They're there. They are a different type of personality. They have to be willing to deal with the ruffians on a daily basis. But, we need them. No doubt about that.
Right. And like I said, I admire them and just what they go through. And we need to do what we can on the sidelines to support them. But like I said, that's one thing that I always wanted to do. And I'd like to think that if I didn't pursue this, that's what I would have ended up doing. It's a thankless job.
You would have been a good one.
Well,
you got the right mentality. You'd have been a good cop.
Thank you, Paul. You take care now.
You too.
All right. Our great friend Paul in Nampa. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Talking a little bit about these viral videos. Of course, if you want to continue on with the Donald Trump arguments, pro and con, we'll take those. We proudly support the president. We're doing our very best to bring the president to Idaho, and that's a good thing. He should come here. We're the reddest of the red, and we hope that you'll get behind our efforts to make that happen. Like I said, you look at law enforcement and to go in there and to do those things. Did anybody see that viral video from Las Vegas? Did you see that? That Las Vegas police officer? It looks like something you would see in an action-packed movie. You had a person opening up fire on them, and you have his body cam showing him, it's like a video game, but it's real life, shooting back, killing one of the suspects, wounding the other. In the West, in Las Vegas. Google that, Las Vegas police video. Shocking. And unfortunately, those type of predators are coming here to the Treasure Valley. We go to the great state of Oregon. Rhonda in Ontario joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Rhonda.
Your conversation this morning. I wouldn't give President Trump points for style, but I do find that he brings up topics that people are afraid to talk about, probably due to media persecution. But I would challenge many people to just put Trump's name in the stories and articles about the previous administration, including Hillary Clinton's deeds with Uranium One, and find out what their reaction might be, given that the same set of facts just has a different name pasted to it. I find that their bias is just untenable. I think many Americans can see through the hyperbole of their presentations. It's ridiculous. But I think he did a good job. He brought up some very important questions that the American people have. And I don't believe that the agencies themselves are totally a loss, but I think those people that are leading them and that have been there and appointed through the prior administration need to go. And that's in a nutshell for me. Thank you for your show.
Well, don't be a stranger, Rhonda. We'd love to have you call in and listen some more.
Thank you.
Thank you. More coming up. The show continues to grow on our affiliate, 107.5 FM, and the flagship, 580 AM. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Don't forget Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Out to comedian Frank King on a cruise ship somewhere. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Lars Larson, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, Frank King. One of these doesn't belong with the other somehow.
Now, you're a beloved comedian, but you're a proud lib.
Oh, dear God, yes. Kevin, one of the reasons I live in Oregon is they do not allow you to pump your own gas because I am such a flaming liberal, I would burst into flames. Chances are, if I pump my own gas.
Now, Frank, when's the last time you've been to the reddest of the red, Idaho?
Idaho, gosh, that's been... I did a show for big tech company there a number of years ago, Christmas party. Who is it? Woman used to head it up, not HP. I also did there's a big grass seed company there. Guy lives on a hill in Idaho. I can't think of the... Anyway, I've done several shows there in Idaho. Isn't there a building with like a river down the side?
There's a lot of rivers.
The illustration of a river. Yeah.
So maybe we need to bring you in here and convert you to the right side because this could be this could be very entertaining. Where we could work on bringing you back home to America, and you could leave your liberal progressive ways.
Almost like an intervention of sorts.
Right.
You have family members of mine who are conservatives come through, sit me down,
No, we wouldn't. We
me.
would just have the family members here, the Miller militia. We'd have you in a room, and we'd have the callers here, and for entertainment purposes only, we would to try to bring you back home.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
So, Frank, before we get to a serious topic, I thought we'd do something a little different here. Let's see if we can provoke some response. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on Donald Trump and whether or not you believe he's doing a good job.
I do not believe he's doing a good job. I mean, there are indicators. The stock market is still climbing. Unemployment's below 4%. Although the economy sounds like a battleship. It doesn't move. You can't just turn it on a dime. Some of that, I would say, credit belongs to the previous administration. The corporate coffers, stock buybacks, that's biggest ever in the history of the country. So, I mean, there are things that have happened. Oh, and I will tell you this, Kevin, because I have an LLC, it's called a pass-through entity. My business taxes will be 21%, will be about 20% lower in 2018 than they were in 2017. So, I mean, I got to give him credit for that.
You're very reluctant to give the president the much-needed credit, Frank, for saving America. In fact, I think that he did a great job with Putin, and would you agree with me on that? The useful idiots in the media seem to have an issue with him. I think the president did the right thing with Putin. What about you? I
think he should have held his feet to the fire. I think, after all 17 intelligence agencies, all 24 Russians were indicted, 25 now, including that redheaded young woman, agreed that they interfered with the election. Whether they changed the outcome or not, they did interfere. I think he does himself a disservice by saying, I agree with the intelligence agencies, the Russians interfered or meddled, but a lot of people out there doing that sort of thing. He tends to, it's like the Lord, give us and then he taketh away. I'll tell you something I had an issue with him, Kevin. It's not political. He has a should we say, a difficult time with the truth. He said, and I quote, we have the worst relationship with Russia we have ever had. Well, I'm 61 years old. I have a vivid memory of the Cold War, of mutual assured destruction, the Cuban Missile Crisis. My uncle knew Bobby Kennedy, and my uncle was a drinking buddy of the Russian ambassador at the time. And at the time, there was no red phone or hotline between the White House and the Kremlin. So what would happen is JFK would tell, this is leading up to the Cuban Missile Crisis. The JFK would tell Bobby what he wanted Khrushchev to know. Bobby would tell my Uncle Frank. My Uncle Frank would have martinis and cigars with the Russian ambassador, and he would tell him what Bobby told him, and the Russian ambassador would contact the Kremlin and tell Khrushchev what JFK wanted him to know. So, I think recently is not the worst relationship we've ever had with the Russians. Because if that were the case, I wouldn't have spent quite so much time ducking and covering under my desk in elementary school.
Well, you're going old school on us, Frank. Frank King joining us, comedian Kevin Miller here in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. But really, the media has done a disservice to the president. He can't do anything right.
Well, define media. No. Well, the media, they use the media as if it were just the liberal media. There are 800, I would guess, 700, 800 conservative talk radio stations. There may be 80 left-wing radio stations.
Yeah, but really the media is all the media is all liberal, and I got to tell you, talk radio is maybe about 400. You throw in local and syndicated, I would say.
Yeah, but the libs have maybe 60 or 80, and then Fox News, an entire network. And Rupert Murdoch said this years ago. The idea was, well, let's go back farther than that. Roger Ailes said to Nixon, "Look, you know what we really need is Republican TV." And then when he met Murdoch, they made that a reality. Instead of making the opinion fit the news, they made the news fit the opinion, which was Murdoch's business plan, which I must admit has been amazingly successful. I mean, it made a gargantuan amount of money. So the Fox occupies a large space of that. People say the media. It's not just liberal media. I mean, there are conservative newspapers as well. The Wall Street Journal, I believe, is owned by Murdoch. There's another paper too owned by Murdoch, and then Sinclair. Dear God, if they get this merger through, I think 2 out of every 3 televisions in the United States will have Murdoch channels on. Sinclair channels on. Sinclair makes Fox look like MSNBC.
Well, if Sinclair were smart, they would be doing something with this program, but because we resonate and mirror the conservative thoughts of America, Frank, but Fox News certainly doesn't have the power of CBS, NBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, or your personal favorite, Chuck Todd.
No, Chuck would not have been my choice for Meet the Press. But no, Fox, I do believe Fox, they have a long reach. And here's the problem for liberals, Kevin. Here's my argument, a couple of arguments with liberals. Number one, they're horrible at messaging. The Republicans are spectacular at it. I've met Frank once, had dinner with him, the wordsmith for the right, and he's brilliant. There is no such person on the left. Liberals are into nuance. Liberals are into policy. Liberals are into looking good, moral high ground. The Republicans are interested in winning. I'm not one of those Democrats. They go low, we go high. Well, while you're up there high, look down the low road. The Republicans are busy winning elections. So I believe that they continue to bring a knife to a gunfight over. And they expect the Republicans to want some sort of grand bargain, on whatever. And I think that was Obama's Achilles heel was he believed the Republicans really wanted a grand bargain on this, that, or the other. And
but
they didn't.
But Frank, by the way, if you want to talk to Frank, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, Kevin Miller in the morning. Frank is giving us the liberal perspective. I found most of your ilk, besides you, to be very mean, and they don't want dissent. They want to quash good conservative folks like me.
How so? Who's after you?
Oh, they're always after me and Sean. They call us right-wing extremists. They say our views are out of date. They'll make up things about us, go after our owners, go after our advertisers, go after everything. Now do this.
Well,
hold on, Frank. Do this. Google Kevin Miller Obama when we're done, and you'll learn more about me. But anyway, that is something that the left does. They're very intolerant, in my view. Do you share that view?
Well, I think each side is intolerant of the other. I think,
we have you on. We're not intolerant of you, Frank.
Well, lock her up.
Got me there.
Comes to mind. Yeah.
Got me on that one.
Yeah. I think the right has several very powerful weapons. Fear is a great motivator. Gays are going to turn your kids. Somebody dark-skinned is going to take your job.
Now, wait a minute. The right hasn't said that.
Well, but they use those tactics since Nixon and the Southern strategy to terrify white voters. And granted, it's worked very well. It still works very well. again, the right is, I got to give them the credit. They're extremely well organized. They all sing from the same hymnal. They're almost always on message together, which, there's a unity there. Again, the Democrats are there. It's a big tent, and that's the problem, is there's lots of different groups inside that big tent with a different agenda, where there's a reason that there are 400-plus conservative radio talk stations, because the audience is monolithic to a point, and it's easy I sold radio. It's much easier to sell Kevin Miller than it is to sell a left-wing station, because, you're selling to businesses. Businesses are going to go, wait a minute, you want me to advertise on your left-wing station when most of my clients, my customers...
I disagree with you on that. People they don't buy the libs, but then you'll have people using the other way. Well, they're too extremists. You don't want to be associated with that. We've seen people go after Sean. We've seen people go after Rush, Laura, Ingram as well. So, it works on both sides. I just wish more liberals were, like you, were jolly and friendly and happy.
Yeah, well, I'm a Southerner. As my Uncle Frank, who was friends with the ambassador, used to say, you need to be able to agree to disagree. You need to be able to you need to be, here are two of his favorite expressions. You need to be able to spit on a guy's shoes and convince him you're shining them, and you need to be able to tell him to go to hell and make him happy he's on his way.
Truly. I'm sorry, Frank. I was going to say I've enjoyed this back and forth, but on a more serious note, let's talk a little bit about suicide prevention. And by the way, are you in the Mediterranean? You're in the Caribbean? Are you in the Northwest? Where are you right now?
We are sailing into Ketchikan. I'm doing a couple of weeks on the boats doing stand-up comedy in Alaska.
Ooh, watch out. Not a lot of libs up there, old friend.
No. Let me tell you something, Kevin. On cruise ships, not a lot of liberals. People who
You don't have your I'm with Bernie shirt on when you're doing your act?
No, God, Lord, no. And here's people in the gym go, who'd you vote for? Well, who'd you vote for? I always find out first.
Comedian Frank King joining us. Let's talk a little bit about depression and fighting depression. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, depression and suicide have no political party. It's Republicans, it's Democrats, it's the Green Party. I will tell you this, Kevin, 7 out of 10 suicides in this country right now, white males, age 45 to 54. It is an epidemic. And if you're wondering why, a couple things. One, people go, well, the jobs went to China. Actually, the jobs they're talking about, 88% of those jobs did not go to China. A portion did, but a lot of that went to robotics and software. And so you got a blue-collar guy, high school graduate, had a good gig, making union wages in a manufacturing facility, and all of a sudden, and their ego is tied up in what they do for a living, and all of a sudden they're set adrift by automation, or in 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 times jobs going overseas. So that's plus there's something called toxic masculinity, because you know how guys are. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. I've had 2 heart surgeries and a heart attack, and I've got comedy about all that. And I often ask guys, anybody here, hey, chest cracked? And the hand goes up. Okay. And what were the symptoms? They tell me. Okay, how long from the onset of symptoms until you saw the doctor? And it can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 5 years, because they're guys. They're sure it cannot be a heart attack. They don't want to admit that it's a masculine thing. I mean, I was the same way. Cardiologists will tell you, if you want to motivate the husband to get a heart surgery, you motivate the wife. That's how you do it. Because the guys tend not to, I rationalize. We rationalize. So what happens with guys who are depressed and having thoughts of suicide? I'm a guy. I should be able to pull myself up by my bootstraps. I should be able to handle this. Guys don't seek therapy. That's not all the problem, but that is part of the problem.
Finally, your advice to people that may know someone that are worried about themselves, what should they do?
Well, here's how you can tell if somebody is thinking of suicide. They're constantly talking about death or dying. If they write, it's a theme in their writing, or if they do artwork, it's a theme in their artwork. They are gathering the means, ammunition, a weapon, stockpiling pills. They are perhaps giving away their prized possessions because they want to make sure they go to the person they want to go to. And finally, if they're depressed for a long time and unhappy for no apparent reason, it may be because they've chosen time, place, and method. So that's how you can spot it. And here's what you do if you know somebody like that. Just flat out ask them, are you having thoughts of suicide? Don't dance around the bush. Just flat out ask them. And if they say yes, you have a plan. If they have a plan, say, what is your plan? If it's detailed, get them on the phone with the Suicide Prevention Lifeline or texting to 741-741.
Frank, be careful. And remember, you ever want to convert, we'll lead the ceremony here.
That is such a generous offer. I may take you up on that someday. Or if I come to town, I'm coming on the show.
You definitely are. And as your people would say, bless your heart.
Oh, that's very Southern. Oh, bless your heart.
Frank King, thank you, sir. Take care.
See ya.
Our great friend, Frank King. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget Mattress Ranch in Meridian. They're having a Fill the Pantry event. That will be this Saturday from 10 to 4 at the Meridian Mattress Ranch, just on South Meridian Road, 450 South Meridian Road. We'll be there from 11 to 1. The event is from 10 to 4. Please help our friends at the Meridian Food Bank. No more empty bowls. And whether it's the Meridian Food Bank, St. Vincent de Paul, our great friends at the Boise Rescue Mission, giving, helping is not top of mind right now. People are going on vacation. People are enjoying the weather, whether it's a staycation or you're heading out. We get distracted. We start to lose a little focus. And we are so blessed here in the Treasure Valley that we have so many good people doing so many good things. And if you are new to the Treasure Valley, people here give. And they do so proudly. So we'd ask you to take a look at your favorite charity and make a difference. And make sure you keep that young lady that we talked about earlier in the hour being held captive, Leah Sharububa, by Boko Haram in your prayers, a 15-year-old little girl who converted to Christianity, being held by these thugs 150 days today. We won't forget you, ma'am. We won't forget you. Austin, great job for Ray today. Appreciate you. And may God bless and keep the faith.